distinguished ARM ambassador and the founder of Collabnix, one of India's most well-loved developer communities, which he has been building for over 8 years. He has nearly 2 decades of experience in technology and has watched this industry change more times than most people have changed laptops. So he knows the difference between real shifts and the hype cycles, and today he's going to tell you which one of the situations we're in right now. So please give a huge round of applause for Ajeet on the stage.
Thank you, everyone. How are you all doing? Good? Yes? I believe, it has been a long day and there is a lot of talk. And today I have come with an interesting topic. And I would say that I'm not here to scare you, but this is what it is happening in the industry right now. And this is based on the couple of blogs which I have written on MCP horror stories, what is happening in agentic world. At the same time, as I have written, like, AI won't replace you, it will make you unstoppable. Okay, so let's start with a little introduction. So I'm working as a DevRel manager at Docker. Okay, so I'm working as a DevRel manager at Docker. It has been, I started working in Docker when Docker was like 1 year old. Ever since back in 2022, I joined as a full-time employee. Before that, I was writing blogs. I have close to around 1500 plus blogs which I have written only on a specific technology. And then meanwhile, we were trying to build a community in India, especially in Bangalore. We have close to around 17,000 people in our meetup group. We do meetup almost every month in Bangalore. So if you search for Collabnix, you will get to know about all these meetups. I'm also part of Distinguished ARM Ambassador. So there are around 13 to 14 Distinguished ARM Ambassador all across the globe. We deploy containers, we do a lot of POCs around it, and then we publish the content around it, right? And so let's jump into a kind of, maybe in next 20 to 25 minutes, I will give you an idea about where we are moving right now, okay? Now, how many of you agree with this stat? 92% of developers use AI tools. Do you agree? Yes? Okay. Now, the way you might be thinking about it is not that we are now fast typing the code, but we need to understand that how you are taking these stats, okay? It's all about the real transformation is not about writing code faster, it is all about thinking bigger. And let me tell you that this is a number which I am showing, it is in 2026. Okay, but I want to remind you of a few of the things which has happened in the past. How many of you know about rentahuman.ai? Can you raise your hand? I just see 2 or 3 hands. Okay, now let's go back to 2023. What happened? ChatGPT came. We were all scared. It will take our jobs. Yes, because it was doing all the sort of things which we wanted to do in our day-to-day job. Then in 2025, when we had Arise, when MCP was there, and then, when we have an LLM, which was like progressing in terms of vision, in terms of text, we started thinking about, okay, AI can help us write code faster. Okay, it's okay. But we are not scared. But I want to tell you something which has happened in the last month. Okay? AI is hiring human. Just imagine. And I will tell you the instance what happened. There was an AI agent called Addy. He hired human to deliver flowers to Anthropic office. So which make you think like still AI needs us. Otherwise, 100% replaceable. Now this is the real stuff which happened. AI with the rent and human, that is a website. You can just type on the Google's, on the browser rentahuman.ai. And you know what? In the first week, 80,000 human applied for this job. 80,000 human. Okay? We never imagined this time. As I said, I'm not here to scare you, but this is happening at this point of time. OpenClaw? It has surpassed the GitHub repo stars which Linux kernel has today, 300K. And just it took 3 weeks. Okay, even though many of you might contradict saying like Linux kernel repo is like a read-only why we have to care about it. But imagine Kubernetes took 10 years to reach 120k stars. Docker, it hasn't reached yet. And imagine OpenClaw in 3 weeks, it crossed 300k. And stars are something, it's not like, randomly you are browsing your, any site and you are just pasting in. No, it is coming from the developers. There is nothing called as a, a script you can write to deliver those stars unless and until you know the loophole. But what I am saying that 300k stars for the OpenClaw in 3 weeks is a big number. Okay. Now, the time has come where you have to, especially when I say you, it's all of us. We need to, it reminds of 3 important things here. First, AI agents are posting job listing for human. We never thought of this time, especially in 2026 it is going to happen. Okay. The second one is 92% of developers are already using AI tools. And the third is the best developers direct AI, not compete with it. Now we are in a position that we are negotiating with AI agents today. And you might have seen, right? Now the day has come where, I will tell you the story, right? 2 weeks back, I was writing a guide for Docker documentation. And who was the first person to review it? AI agent. Who is the first person to validate it? AI agent. It is checking grammar. It is checking whether I am missing some kind of a punctuation or not. Okay. And there was no human allowed. There was, the AI agent was set up in such a way that if you go to the GitHub, you will see the agents, right? Where you just say whether you want to raise a pull request or not. And I will tell you something, right? 4 years back, I started a repo called as Docker Labs. The idea was to bring all the community together and build some labs. Okay, we have few of the contributors even sitting here. We have a Cube Labs, we have Cube Tools. These are like over 5,000 GitHub stars. It took us 4 years to manage it. And today, these repos are managed by agents. I had one of the awesome list. Most of the awesome list which you see. Now don't panic when you see, because you raise a PR request and it is merging in no minutes, which means that no human is participated. It's all agents which are doing, right? Now let's go back last year, one of the biggest platforms, Stack Overflow, and this was a stat. Last year it was 76, this year it is 92. Now these data stats, these are the stats, okay? 76% in the Stack Overflow survey said like we are using AI in our workflow. Okay, and this was in August last year. And how it has been like not even 8 to 9 months, and the stats has rose like anything, right? And then last year it was 66% says like output is almost right, but not quite. Because sometimes what happens, there's a hallucination, right? You write some code and then you review it and you find that, okay, there are some mistakes because of the prompt which you are providing. Say for example, if I want to build some kind of a music, it will all depends upon the prompt. Have you heard about suno.com? Music generation website, lot of ads over YouTube. Now the way, and literally I have spent around 3 months in suno.com building an AI, and I can show you the music, how it generates. It's all about the prompt. But the whole idea is you should have a patience to look at the style, to look at the lyrics, what will be the tempo, what kind of a music you want, right? But last year it was like 66% were thinking about it is almost right, but not like 100% right. And interestingly, last August, there were 72% were not vibe coding. And today, every engineer is starting a startup in the morning. Do you agree? Yes. One of the tweet which I saw, one of the guys say like, I have 8,000 startup, but no customer. Okay, the reason being, every morning you wake up, you have an idea, you go to the Lovable or Emergent or Cloud Code or even ChatGPT and you start developing something. You have an MCP, you can deploy it over the cloud, locally, but who is going to buy it? Right, that is a question. Now, what we have seen that last year it was more like there was a gap between the AI availability and AI effectiveness. Okay. Now that has led to that right now the situation is that we have to negotiate with AI agents. We can't compete it. You have to trust this. You have to believe this is a time, because AI agents are in GitHub. They are everywhere. They are into your database. And with this, I introduce something called as Agentic SDLC. How many of you have heard about Agentic SDLC? HDLC. It's a bread and butter for us, right? Input, inner loop, outer loop. A developer start coding locally. He tests the code. He pushes the code to the GitHub repo. Once it goes to the CI/CD pipeline, you monitor it. And if agents are going to take care of the SDLC, which means that you can think of whatever the day-to-day job you are doing it, right? How it is going to affect. But I am saying that we don't really have to worry about it. With augmented developers is someone who is now, the day a fresher join a company, he will be a AI architect. He won't be doing day one job because agents are going to do it. And that is where the augmented developers come into the picture. If you go to the Google and search for it, you won't hear about it. But yeah, definitely if you go to the Cloud, I got a lot of inspiration from Cloud. You can, so the thing is, now we are not thinking about starting our job with debugging, with coding. No, we are not going to do that. Agents are going to take care of it. What we are going to do is, just like, your son or daughter with whom you talk about, okay, you should do things this way or that way. You will be start thinking from a day one in a company, you will be start thinking at a system level. Rather than saying, write a function, you will say, give me a prompt that can help me build the system. You won't be, working on any of the low level stuff. Everything will be taken care of by the agent. The other thing is, now we are talking about the multi-agent system, which means multiple LLMs, not one LLM. Can you guess how many models are there in Hugging Face today? Any guesses? 200k plus, even more than that. And you know what? How many of you know about those models? You might be knowing about all those leading one, but there is a model for music, there is a model for healthcare. And these models are sitting in the Hugging Face. And based on the company where you are working, you have to use those models. I am working on one of the blog posts on music generation, okay, where I am using an ARM MCP, converting those x86 to ARM based, architecture today using MCP server, which means that agents, you have an application which you deployed around like 5 years ago and you want to go ahead and shift it to the new hardware or new MacBook, which means these agents are basically migrating those applications, not you. The other thing is, when you have a multi-agent, when you have, we are thinking about the system level, which means that now you have a group of agents and now you can accelerate as a 10x, because that will be faster. These agents are looking into the PR, merging it quite fast. And you won't imagine also what they are doing. So the shift is more like, it's very clear. You start with a traditional developer, where you type code line by line, debug manually for hours, and now it has been like in minutes. Okay? And trust me, I have been spending, like I would say, half a day ensuring that I try, because if there is something which has never been tried, and that is something which we try inside Docker, right? Whenever we write those guides are not available externally, right? We need to write it for the first time. But still, taking a help from AI takes time to validate it, to run it, right? And these AI agents are just going and deploying it on code spaces, right? So what we have seen here, your traditional developer is now, we are moving to the augmented developers here. And you must agree to the point that agents are the new microservices here. Just like how you move from coding to testing to review, now we have an agents for each of these stuff, okay? And so I'm going to jump directly into a demo. Okay, so the whole idea is, this is the kind of a simulation which I am doing here. I have a traditional SDLC on the left hand side, on the right hand side agentic SDLC. And I will show you how you deploy this in the real time also. Okay, I'm going to use a tool called as a Docker agent, which basically is a single YAML file which can deploy whatever I'm showing at this point of time. So on the left hand side, which you see is a traditional SDLC. On the right hand side, it is more like an agentic SDLC. Okay. So the traditional way how you do it, if I click on it, you can see here the both of these guys. In traditional SDLC, we are going through all these requirements in place. We have deployment test, right? And the usual way how we think of it is like, I want to build a weather dashboard kind of a stuff. It will go to the external API. It could be a wire mock. It will fetch all the data, and then it should go ahead and build some kind of a fancy UI kind of a stuff. Now, a traditional SDLC, you are doing everything manually. You are thinking about it, right? And this is, again, both of them are in 1x speed, just to show you. But the whole idea is you are testing it locally, whether it is a Linux, Windows, or Mac machine. You can see the way how you are building this application, right? How you are gathering the requirements, how you are implementing it, and then how you are containerizing it, right? At the end of the day, it has to be deployed as a container on your, cloud or your local machine, right? On the right hand side is something with agentic SDLC, which is already done. You can see here, it took around 35 seconds to go through, the spec agent, and you see the difference here. If you have a team who is deploying this traditional SDLC, each one of the team, because today we have a testing team, we had deployment team and all of this thing, or DevOps guys. But on the right hand side, we have an agents. We are coming into the picture. Okay. And these agents are a spec agent. Spec agent is not just building your specification. It is doing a lot more. It is also validating it, whether it is correct or not, based on the best practices. The coding agent is writing a code as per the best practices. The testing agent is not just using a mock data. It is fetching all the real data. Like, say, for example, instead of using wire mock, I am using test container, right? And the example which I have shown is more with a tool called as a Docker agent, okay, which was earlier called as a C agent. The name changed just like, few days back. But the whole idea is, this is how things are moving, right? When you compare traditional versus agentic SDLC. And you see this, what is happening. We start with the plan agent, we have a design agent, we have a coding agent, test agent, review, deploy. And then you might ask, where are we? Right? We are in the middle, which is just trying to see whether we need a coding agent or not. Definitely we need a coding agent, but we are here to architect it. Because imagine in a company, you have an HPC team, you have a database team, you have a virtualization team, right? Each one of them might be working on some kind of, building some kind of a software or a scripts or something like that. Now the whole idea is, agentic is that for each of these activities, you have an agents. Okay. And now, how does this, and this is a race which we are talking about, where we are doing all those manual stuff, and this is an augmented, right? So going back to the timeline which you see here, you might ask, like, what is the developer stack here? And this is how it looks like. You have an coding agents which might be using any of these LLMs. You have an MCP servers. Even though you might be seeing there are a lot of changes happening in the MCP, few of them are saying like it is fading away. But when I started using Docker agent, I started feeling like, yes, slowly MCP is fading away. The reason being, now with a dynamic discovery, agents are so capable that they are able to discover within themselves. Take an example of GitHub. Now for every MCP, you are creating a kind of what? You are creating a JSON file. If say GitHub has around 40 tools, you are creating 40, you are including all those JSON files. But with this dynamic discovery, now agents are capable of even discovering that what I need. If you look at MCP servers, they are close to around 10,000 MCP server in the GitHub repo today. And there is one awesome list where you can see all of them. But you will realize that now agents are so capable that they are themselves dynamically discovering the way how these LLMs, because MCP provides hands and fits to your LLMs, right? And that is where with the dynamic discovery, you don't really have to worry about it. They are discovering with the built-in tools, and I will show you an example how I can deploy a swag store within few seconds. Okay, and MCP is already integrated, but you don't configure it manually because it is dynamically, it is discovering it in a dynamic way. And definitely the Docker containers, because most of the time when you deploy this, you are running inside a container, say even if you are running as a pod or container, right? The other thing which I have seen, and I was hearing the interview of one of the founder of the company, and what he's saying, like, okay, even though we have a cloud APIs, what are the one thing which you fear about? The fear is if we have a local machine with sufficient GPUs and sufficient power to run AI model, and you might have heard about OpenClaw, right? How popular it is. We are connecting to Telegram, we are connecting to WhatsApp. So you don't need anything but your local machine. Now imagine this particular laptop was launched around 3 days ago. It is Pro M5 Max, 48 GB memory. And the GPUs are so powerful that I can run a Nemotron, which is NVIDIA latest model, in this computer. So imagine, why do you need NVIDIA Thor machine, which you pay around, like, it is costly, right? So what I'm saying is, with the local AI model, with the tools like Ollama, with Model Runner, LM Studio, you can run model locally, which means that now my agents are so capable that they don't even have to go to the cloud or fetch any of the API. I can run it locally itself, and that's where your local AI come into the picture. And definitely I won't talk about foundation of Docker, but it is more like, I'm not here to market about it, but I'm saying that each and everything what we are doing today is containerized, right? You might have seen the partnership between NanoClaw and Docker. There is a partnership happening with all those containerized vendors, right? The reason being, now with containerization, you don't really have to worry about all those dependency. And the same applies for the MCP, right? You don't have to run as Python or Node.js. You just containerize it and then run it. So the whole idea is we are moving from an AI agent to MCP gateway, which is basically how you are managing the MCP servers and then your tools. Now let's look this into a practice. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want to build a swag store. Okay, I want to build a swag store, and I want, for building it, I can do it with a single agent, multi-agent. I'm going to pick up a multi-agent system, and this will be my last demo. So I have a cagent.yaml file here. So let me go ahead and try to see if I can access it. Swag store and multi-agent system, and I have a cagent file here. Let me see where it went. Okay, so this is my single YAML file. I don't know if it is visible. Okay, it's good. So in a single YAML file, what I'm saying, so there is a tool called as a Docker agent, which helps you to build agent from scratch. Okay, I am using OpenAI at this point of time. You can even use the model runner, local model. Okay, and just to give an idea about how things works, I have a root agent which I am naming as a smart. This guy is a root orchestrator. Okay, it delegates the task to 5 specialized sub-agents. So for Swag Store, I am using 5 agents here. I have a spec agent, I have a code agent, test agent, review, deploy, which means that I am taking care of the full agentic SDLC. Okay, if you go to the traditional way, you go to the GitHub, create a different repo for all these teams. Now each one of them, and the reason why I'm saying MCP is fading away is because of these tool sets, to do and think. How many of you have used sequential thinking? MCP server? It's so powerful. There is only one tool. Okay, sequential thinking is just like, if I want to create an awesome list, it will scan throughout the GitHub, fetch me all the new tools and get me added. Okay, so sequential thinking is something like, it start thinking like, why I'm asking this question. If I say I want to build a swag store, it will think that why I am asking the first thing. What is an intention behind? Okay, with Docker agents, which we used to call as a C agent, we have this inbuilt tool set, which means that now you don't even need MCP for this. The reason being, these inbuilt tool agent is basically creating the whole project. Imagine you have given access to your system to ChatGPT and asking like, go ahead and deploy the whole application on my laptop. Okay, similar thing which we see here, the 4-letter to do is basically getting access to your what? It is creating all your files into your system. So we have a built-in tools like file system, memory, think, right? Now I have a spec agent here where I'm saying, okay, write spec to swag store. And you know what? Sometimes what happened that we don't have a patience to even write a prompt here or the instruction. Sometimes you might have seen, say if I need some kind of a music, what I will do, I will just write 2 or 3 lines. And then I say like, okay, no, this tool is not good. No, it is all depends upon your prompt. And think of it as like, this is more like an instruction which you are giving here. Whatever I am going to tell to a junior developer to go ahead and even say pick up the Python developer or Node.js developer is something which I am mentioning here. And I am mentioning it very clearly that my spec should go to this particular directory. It should have a Docker brand, 8 products, t-shirt, these are the prices, hoodies, mug. I am giving every single information. Because if you know, how many of you have used Lovable? Yes? So Lovable is so amazing that with one prompt it gives you 1500 lines of code. And then you spend whole day in debugging it. I have been paying for the subscription and I have been building, literally it is very, very powerful. But at the same time, sometimes it restricts you to use Superbase as a backend. If I want to change the backend, then I will be in trouble. Because I need to do a lot of changes, right? So the whole idea is that whenever you give a prompt, you have to be very specific, right? It should not be the case that you are spending whole day in debugging this stuff, because now initially you know that what to write. You know about those 20 to 30 lines of code or 200 lines of code. Now it is like a 1500 lines of code. And the same thing is happening for all the content which you are writing. So for this spec agent, because it has to create files on your local system, so I am using what? I am using file system toolset. I don't need file system MCP server here. This is a very clear picture of why when someone says like MCP is going away, yes, because there are built-in tools which are coming up. And then you have a coding agent. What this coding agent does, it's basically read the swag store spec, and based on that it will go ahead and generate the code. Okay, so it says like your header should be like this, subtext like your shop now, there is some kind of a CTA button, there is a filter bar, product. Now imagine a swag store, I am writing so many lines of code, like we have already crossed around 100. And these are the products. I am specifying that these product has to be there in the swag store. Okay, now let's move to the other agent. And for this agent, we have file system, to do and shell, because now it has to create the front end and back end. So it needs access to my local machine. Then we have a test agent. Test agent is again definitely a QA engineer, right? Again, to test engineer, I'm saying like, you know what, I have built this code, you have to test it. Okay. Now testing can happen with a, we have a test container which does the real testing. It's no mock test and everything, right? So I'm specifying all this thing and then write all the test results to this swag store directory. And what is the file system and to do? Because it has to test and write in one of the file. Then we have a review agent. The review agent is one who is basically doing a code quality check, design and best practices, right? And this is where your, you are basically, review means rating. So I am providing that. So it requires an access to file system, to do and think. Okay. And then the final, it is a deployment, because I have to deploy. And so I am saying like deploy this code as a container. I can even say go ahead and deploy on Kubernetes cluster as a pod, right? So those things I can mention in here. I am specifying that all the best practices. Okay. Write Docker file to this particular, and then I'm saying like, okay, my Docker file should look like this. Now you might be imagining that all the work I am doing it, right? I am writing a YAML file. What the heck? The AI should do it. But as I said, right, if you don't specify, AI is going to write 1500 lines of code for you. Okay, I am saving your time here. So this is how a single YAML file look like. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so I'm using OpenAI key, it's already passed. Okay, it's already there. What I need to do here is, I will say Docker agent. So let me make it big. So I'm saying Docker agent run Docker agent.yaml file. Looks good? Yes? So this is how the terminal look like. This is basically a TUI where you can see that, it is waiting for the prompt here. Okay. So the prompt, what I have done in order to save my time, I go to the readme file and I have already written a prompt here. Build and deploy a Docker swag store single HTML file with 8 products, t-shirt $29, close to $30, hoodie, mug, and then I'm saying, okay, bag, socks, laptop sleeves, okay, and then I'm packaged with Nginx Alpine and keep it running in port 8082. So let's change it to port 8085, okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead and type a prompt here. Now there will be 5 agents who are coming into the picture. Think of it as like you are building a swag store, right? It will ask me that I need access to this local system, okay. And I said this tool is open source tool. Even if you want to deploy on cloud, it is going to work. So I'm saying, go ahead. I give you an access to my local machine. And now it started creating a file. Now imagine, it is not like ChatGPT who is giving you an idea about, okay, this is the code, download it, run it, or I have not set up any MCP server here. I am just using a Docker agent tool, which is a single YAML file. I am using a built-in tools, okay, and this guy is writing my front end, back end, database, everything on my local machine on this present directory from where I am running this code, okay. And as I said, right, this project has already crossed around 1K GitHub stars. It is completely open source, completely free. You can just download it. And even I have seen a DigitalOcean has been providing a drop. Anyone from DigitalOcean here? Any guy? Okay. So DigitalOcean is already providing it as a droplet, which means that now you could just have to spin up a droplet and you are there to use it. Okay. So meanwhile, if you see here right now, all the agents are coming into the picture. And let me show you so you can see the tokens, you can see the cost, you can see the context, everything here, okay. And then now right now what it is doing, it is basically implementing a JavaScript functionality for your cart operation and filtering, okay. So it will provide you with all the, as I said, right, it is basically a terminal user interface, which is a TUI. And what you are going to see in a meanwhile that I just created those, specified those prompt, specified on the YAML file, and it is just going to go ahead and create all these agents. So there is one more example where I can give, say I'm building a weather dashboard application. So these are the the agents, and think of it like all these agents I have specified in a YAML file. It is doing all the testing, and even I can use the local LLM inference and all of this thing. So what you are going to see here is, so let me check that what I have in the, so few minutes back I ran a kind of swag store. If you can see here, I can click on it, and you can see this is one of, a few minutes back I ran this on port 8084 because I was not aware of like how the speed is going to be. But the whole idea is just a single prompt with these agents, okay. It's a full-fledged project. Let me tell you, it's a full-fledged project. Whenever I go and do a tech talk, I spend around 4 hours in understanding how we do the outer, what is the inner loop, what is the outer loop, how do you test it, how do you secure it. And for me, it just took one prompt. And this is the whole picture of agentic SDLC. Okay, all these agents coming together and helping you out in building the application. So let me see what it has done. Okay, it is again based on the speed, but the whole idea is that I have these particular swag store up and running as a container, and you can see here the ports and everything, right? So the idea is that, and if you look at this application which it has built, there are few things which you need to really understand. Okay, these agents are so intelligent that in one of the place, like I never even mentioned about there should be a shopping cart or something like that. What it did basically, I can add to cart and it will go ahead and push it. Say for example, if I want to do, okay, I want to shop now, if I add it, I think it was running another port, so it added few of the functionality because that was an obvious reason, right? Because if you are building a swag store, people will check out, right? Those kind of functionality it understood it. So which means that agents are always working ahead of us. Okay, all we need to do is we need to redirect. We have to be as a system architect and help them in shaping up the applications, right? So let's go back and try to see where it is. Okay, Again, you can see the token number here, you can see the cost here. But the whole idea is that, while I go back to my slides, this is an architecture, and this is what we saw, right? It will create a spec.md file, write server.js, and all of this thing it is doing in the backend. And if you really want to get started with it, all you need to do is what I have done here is installing Docker Desktop, and you can pick up your AI codings. Like for example, I have shown you like how one of the things which I am not showing you because of the key and all this thing, but I pass export OpenAI. That's it. Other than that, rest of the things, if you want to use Anthropic, you can use Anthropic. If you want to use local AI, which I always recommend it, you can use that. And then even if you want to pass MCP, as I said, right, there is always an optional stuff, because in agentic application today, MCP is the core stuff, right? So there is an option. You can plug and play kind of stuff. And then definitely containerization is important, because now I have to deploy it to the other machines, right? So I want to highlight that there is one inbuilt tool which was really helpful when I was building this application. I was not mentioning the to-do. To-do is one which basically goes ahead and write your files on your local system. And this is the honest truth. As I said, right? As I said, 76% of the audience in Stack Overflow say like they are not vibe coding. Look, there will be some kind of an hallucination, and that is the reason we don't have to really worry about it, okay? These agents, these LLMs doesn't have a boundary. You go to the chat GPT and say like, give me a lyrics. Okay? It will keep on, based on that, it will give you the 100 lines of, you never know. It will give you the style. You never ask for the style also, it will give you the style along with the lyrics. And it will add like, do you want me to create a lyrics as per suno.com? It will ask you 100 of questions, okay? And if you don't specify it, as I said, LLM has no boundary, and that is the problem. Okay? So hallucinations are real. Okay? Context window limits, you need to really, when you start working with the local AI, this is something, treat of this like more like a key takeaway. Prompt engineering matters. Every single prompt. Have you heard about a website which sell and buys prompt? You go to the prompt base. People are selling prompts. Just imagine. And you will be blown away by the cost which they are doing it, okay? So there are prompt marketplace now. So prompt is really important. You have to spend. So as an AI architect, your work is not coding. Your work is not basically gathering the requirement. You have to spend more time in writing those prompts. And that is your work. From the day one of your job is going to be more like a prompt engineering. And I have seen that in many of those colleges, the prompt engineering is a major subject right now. And you know what? Even writing a prompt, I am asking ChatGPT now. Because I don't have a patience. I want to save time. I want to get my things done. And when you ask ChatGPT to write a prompt, then your prompt has to be correct. Okay. So it is just like you just can't throw one line of statement and say like write me a prompt here. Kuch acha likh do aaj kuch. Okay, so that is not going to happen. Okay. So tool integration, yes. Even though we are saying like MCP servers, and trust me, this slide I prepared back in December, and things have changed. I just got a chance to update few of them. But when I prepared these slides 2 months back, it was entirely a different slides. And thanks to volunteers and organizers, I have sent them multiple slides. I make change almost every day because things are changing so fast, right? And this is an impact. This is an impact which we are seeing right now. 10x more prototype. Remember that tweet? 4,000 startups. This is what is happening, right? And we have to be really quick in understanding where industry is moving. Nothing to scare, but at the same time, if we are an AI architect, we really have to understand these agents, what they are doing. Otherwise, how many of you have heard about Malt Book? Just like matchmaking, now agents are matchmaking, okay? They are finding their own desirable agents. So what I am saying that you will hear about this news, and trust me, I went to one of the Partner Connect, okay, one of the company. It's a huge MNC in Bangalore, in India, in world. And I was scared when I saw these CXOs talking about rent a human, Malt Book. What is happening, man? I was thinking like, it might be the case like we are hearing these stories and all of this thing. No. these leadership teams, right, they are worried about it. They are not thinking of AI, they are thinking about how we can replace human with AI. They are thinking, because that is the pressure which is coming from their client. Please make it full agentic. We don't want human in the loop. No human in the loop now. All agentic. So that's the reason we need to think about it. We need to be a good AI architect, and we have to work closely with agents, not compete with them. And these are the few key takeaways. I think I have already, discussed about it. Think at the system level, not the code level. SDLC puts AI agent into every phase. Docker Pro MCP plus Docker, Docker agent is a production-ready agentic stack. The most valuable skill is directing AI, not typing fast. Okay. So before I end up, definitely I want to see. Okay. Somewhere it is. Okay. Oh, I forgot to scroll. Come on. Look at this. Okay. 8085. Let's go here and try to access 8085. And let's see if it works. Yeah, slow network. But the whole idea is you are going to see something like this. I don't know what is happening in the network, but the whole idea is, your Swagger store should be up through the agentic SDLC stuff. And this is the last slide. You are not being replaced, you are being upgraded. The question is, are you upgrading yourself or not? With this, thank you so much.